Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are well. Today is Monday. It is the 2nd of March. Hopefully, all you guys had a wonderful weekend. I myself had a pretty solid one, was out and about playing some Pokemon Go, had a great time, and had a pretty solid event. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see what I had. Outside of that, though, hopefully, all you guys are doing amazing. We're chilling out here with Ducky. He was deciding to trim his claws on my chair, so I scooped him up, and he's chilling out here. So if you hear any sounds, that's him. Outside of that, though, hopefully all you guys are doing wonderful. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And when we do hit 1,000 subscribers, I will be releasing the new show, Talking to My Generation, something that I've been planning for quite a while now. I'm finishing up the editing, couple last minute things that I got to do along with an intro. But outside of that, it's getting pretty close to being ready. So drop a subscribe if you want to see that. And if you want to see it early, go be a paid subscriber on Substack, which I would really appreciate. It's $8 a month. All funds go to me. It helps me pay for the things that I need to pay for in my life, like my food, my groceries, my clothing, all of that kind of stuff. It's been a rough few months on TikTok, so all the support is greatly appreciated, as this is a viewer supported show. With that being said, though, hopefully all you guys are doing amazing. Let's get right into today's episode. Moving on into our headlines and history as we do. The headline we have from today is from March 2nd of 1867 and is titled Nebraska, the 37th state. The Times published the proclamation by President Andrew Johnson that the admission of Nebraska into the Union is now complete. The territory had been acquired in the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 and was open to settlers in 1854. Soon after Nebraska became a state, it was announced that its capital would move from Omaha to a site south of the Platte River. A lawmaker who opposed the move proposed the name of the capital Lincoln, after Abraham Lincoln, to encourage the Nebraskans who had sympathies towards the Confederacy to reject the move. He failed to stop the move. This, of course, is very interesting. It talks about the creation of the state of Nebraska as a whole, which is one of those filler states. No offense to anyone living in Nebraska, of course. I've never been to Nebraska. I don't know that it's on the list. It's cornland, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of states that are like that out there. But yeah, I'd love to have the opportunity to see what it's like out there. I don't know much about Nebraska, in all honesty. But hey, I do know that it is a state, and I do know that it is the 37th state admitted to the Union. And it's definitely a very interesting state at that. With that being said, though, we'll get into the news from today, because there's a lot of news from today, as we have the news from the past few days as well to cover. Of course, the big one being, as we get into our highlight, we are in a war with Iran. The United States has bombed Iran. On the night of the 27th of February, the United States and Israel attacked Iran, killing 200 and injuring more than 747. 24 provinces in the country had been struck. Iran planned on attacking military facilities and not Americans in their land. Trump is urging them to make a deal and calls for change of leadership. But as all conflicts go, that won't happen very quickly. The United States has sent a load of assets to the Middle East, and it looks like we are here for the long haul. Of course, they said no more new wars, yet here we are. I can't wait to hear Trump cry about the fact that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize in a week or two from now. But like it or not, this is going to be a lasting conflict. We've seen it throughout the weekend. We've seen it today. We've seen it for the past few days now, and it is going to be a conflict that lasts. Iran isn't just going to let us bomb them over and over and over again without retaliating. That's not how things like this work, right? Which we've been saying since the start. Iran is going to continue to strike in its defense, and they are in full liberty to do that. There is nothing stopping them from doing so. That is something that I would hope that any country would do when they are being attacked. Anyways, we'll move on to the news talking about this conflict as a whole. Of course, Iran's leader has been killed. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed, announced by Trump in a video post on Truth Social. His death was also confirmed by Iranian state media. The United States launched major combat operations in Iran along with Israel, according to Trump, launching large amounts of missiles into the country. Trump has urged Iranians to take over the government, claiming that the freedom is at hand. There's a lot to say here, and by a lot, I mean a lot. First of all, I just want to say, I'm glad that the Iranian people don't have this oppressive leader, and I'm very happy for them in that regard. But the United States historically is not who you want to find you a new leader, especially in Iran, who struggles with depression or oppression because of our and the UK's choices when it comes to leading the country. Of course, previously, the United Kingdom and the United States chose the former Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who led the country before the Iranian Revolution, who established this current regime. And he is who started a lot of the oppression, a lot of the issues in Iran, especially when it comes to women and other religious groups. The reason we're there now is because we were stupid in the 40s, and the reason that we're going to be there next time is because we were stupid now, right? We need to stop fighting these countries, and instead we need to start actually helping them and providing benefit to them. If we go in and bomb these countries every 20 years, no duh, they're going to hate us, right? But how about instead of bombing these countries every 20 years, we go in and help these countries, provide aid to them, more aid to them, provide alliances to them, provide all of these other things, because these are things that we have had established, right? But it's not in a way that is beneficial to them. It's in a way that's beneficial to the United States. And if we want allies, if we want, people to like us in the world, we need the countries to not only establish their own leaderships democratically, but we also need them to, you know, not be put down by the United States and bombed to the shit every 20 years, right? Like, this is not something that we can continue to do. We need allies in the Middle East. We don't need enemies. In other news, the Pentagon says Iran wasn't going to strike first. According to new reports from Reuters, the Pentagon claims that Iran had no intentions of striking the United States first. Pentagon officials briefed both Democratic and Republican National Security Committee staff members in both the Senate and the House. They emphasized that Iran's missiles and proxy forces in the region posed an imminent threat only to those in the region, but there was no threat being posed to the United States. There is no intelligence also on attack on U.S. forces first. Then why are we there? For Israel, I mean, probably, right? I know damn well this isn't for the people living in Iran because they don't give a damn about us. I know for sure they don't give a damn about the Iranian people, right? Either way, this is going to fail. We are either going to put in a pro-Israeli, pro-US ally in control, who is going to have a revolution committed against or taken up against them, in a handful of years. And then after that, it's going to be, some revolutionary forces, and either they'll be good for the country, either they'll be horrendous for the country. I mean, that's kind of just up for whoever wins that conflict to decide, right? But, it's not going to be beneficial for us. It's just going to cause more problems in the future, right? I don't care how many videos you see of these people in Iran cheering for or cheering against, these strikes that are happening. We need to put our critical thinking caps on here and say that this is a bad idea and it's not going to work because it's never worked. Historically speaking, it is a terrible thing when the United States goes into other countries and installs these leaderships. Just because you have the strongest military in the world doesn't mean you can just brute force your way through all of these conflicts. It doesn't help and it doesn't work. In fact, it just creates more issues in the future. As Americans, we should know this. We have not been winning a lot of our last few wars, and it's been at, the dismay of, unfortunately, U.S. troops. It's been a huge issue. A plethora of U.S. troops have died for no reason because of a plethora of conflicts that we haven't had to go into for no reason, or we haven't had a reason to go into, right? There is no reason why we should be striking a country if they had no intentions on striking us. In other news, Trump isn't ruling out boots on the ground for Iran. Trump has not ruled out the possibility of boots on the ground in Iran, saying that Operation Epic Fury was ahead of schedule. In a New York Post interview, Trump said, "I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground like every president says there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it. I say I probably don't need them or if they were necessary." I don't think anyone who is in the military already will be deployed to the Middle East. Nobody here, especially in Generation Z, wants to fight a war for anyone, especially the United States and Israel, right? Which, has been the case for many generations. War is not looked very favorably upon by humanity. I think most of us can agree that war is stupid and a waste of human life and resources. But sadly, we don't live in a perfect world, right? If we did, governments wouldn't be using violence; they would be using words to solve their problems. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. We live in a world where people use violence, to solve a plethora of issues, right? And as much of an issue as that is, as much as I would love to see world peace in my lifetime, which I do think that's something we should be striving to accomplish as a global society, um, it'll definitely be very hard to do, and I don't think under this administration it's going to happen at all. But I think under Gen Z, it is very possible for us to achieve world peace, especially in the United States. It's been something that we were brought up taught, that we're going to have world peace one day, and it's going to be a great world, and we're all going to sing kumbaya. We all know that that isn't the case right now, and I'm sure a lot of us would love for that to be the case. And I think one day it is very possible we can get there, barring we figure out all of the other issues in between. In other news, draft Barron trends are growing online. Calls on social media to draft Barron Trump to the military with hashtag #SendBarron have exploded following a website called draftbarrontrump.com being created by former South Park writer Toby Morton. Many on social media have called to draft the president's son, and the website reads, "America is strong because of its leaders being strong. President Trump proves every day naturally his son Barron is more than ready to defend the country his father so boldly commands." This is pretty funny, and I doubt it could happen, but I mean, could you imagine if the public pressure really got to Trump here and he got Barron to go into the military? That would be wild. Again, I doubt he do I doubt he would go, right? But I think if the meme grew enough, it might even be very possible. You know, uh, and maybe that's just wishful thinking, but as we know, if you get Trump to cave just right, he'll cave. He will. And again, wishful thinking, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I doubt Barron Trump goes off to war, but it would definitely be very interesting. In other news, Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz. An Iranian Revolutionary Guard has announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, vowing Iran will attack anyone trying to pass through it. Ibrahim Jabari, a senior advisor, said, "The strait is closed. If anyone tries to pass it, the heroes of the Revolutionary Guards and the regular Navy will set the ships ablaze. This is the world's most vital oil route, of course, and will have immense impacts on trade and oil prices." This is bad news for gas prices. Of course, we should all expect that to jump, which means the prices for everything is going to jump in cost, something Americans don't want in the slightest. But hey, let's throw freedom at Iran, guys. Isn't that what we need, right? Because that's more important than our own people, because that's more important than taking care of things at home. Let's throw some freedom out in the Middle East. Woohoo! Isn't that great? In other news, many service members have unfortunately been killed in this conflict so far. The United States military has confirmed a death toll for the Iranian conflict has now reached 6 U.S. service members. American forces have recovered the remains of 2 U.S. service members hit in the first waves of Iran's attacks, and the fourth death was, of course, announced earlier today, dying of the wounds from the attacks, that he had succumbed. No names have been released yet, pending the next of kin notification. My condolences to the families of all of those who have been lost in this horrendous event. No troop should have to be over there right now. Yet here we are, and it's really sad that that has to be the case. Make love, not war. Nobody deserves to die for any conflict, especially for a conflict over oil or weapons of mass destruction that doesn't exist, or a list of other things. I could go on and on and on. In other news, moving on into our Trump administration segment, Trump has given the reasoning for this war. Trump has officially given his reasoning for the start of the war in Iran, claiming that it was the last opportunity for the United States to do so and the best opportunity for us to do so. According to Trump, this stemmed from negotiations from a nuclear treaty, as he claimed Iran had long range missiles and nuclear weapons that would put America under threats. He also laid out 4 objectives for the war: destroy Iran's missile capabilities, annihilate its navy, ensure that they can never make a nuclear weapon, and stop Tehran from being able to fund proxy groups. Was this the best time to strike? Maybe. I'm not a military expert, but there's no way you're going to go out here and tell me the Iranians have missiles capable of striking US territory outside of military bases in the area, right? The only way that they ever come near to US grounds in the United States and in America, core US territory, would be if the United States let them, right? And I don't even think they have missiles to even stretch that far. You know, the only way, again, if they come close here is if we let them, right? The United States is very capable of shooting down any and all of these missiles coming its way. And if we are fighting a war for the interests of Israel and imperialism, what are we doing? Like, why is that even like a worry in the first place? The worry should be strikes in the area, strikes on military bases. But according to Trump, it's that Iran had long range missiles and nuclear weapons that would put America under threat. Of course, I wouldn't say that these military bases are America, right? So why is Trump saying that America would be under threat here? To me, it just seems, um, you know, stupid, because the United States is not under threat from Iran. There's nothing that Iran could do to attack the United States that would put them in any dire threat. Anything the Iranian government sends this way is being shot out of the sky as soon as it is launched, right? I mean, we're fighting this war in the interests of Israel. We're fighting this war in the interests of imperialism, not the people living there. So don't be shocked when they end up living under a repressive regime again, because that's likely going to be the case if we're the ones who set it up, right? Um, I mean, like, there's nothing that they can do here, like, at the end of the day, like, this is going to end up being like all of the other Middle Eastern wars we've seen, where it's drawn out forever, where it's basically stalemated, nothing happens, and we have a shitty takeout of all of our, resources, or pullout. Sorry, that's the wrong term. We have a shitty pullout where everything goes horrendously, right? That's probably how it's going to go, like it does every single time. And is it a waste of time? Absolutely. I can sit here and tell you that over and over again. But we have more important things to talk about today. So let's get right into that. The Clintons' deposition videos have officially been released. The deposition videos for both Bill and Hillary Clinton have been released, consisting of over 9 hours of video testimony from former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Both have denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes before his 2008 plea, and according to Bill Clinton, many of his flight log relations were from the Clinton Global Initiative, which is what he used to help solve issues for humanitarian issues across the globe and help provide money to people trying to solve those issues. There's a lot of content to watch here, and I'm slowly making my way through it. I'm around an hour and a half into Hillary Clinton's deposition post photo leaks, and it's been something. Just to give you a rough idea of where I'm at, the majority's first portion was around a page of notes, and we're getting into the minority right now. Hillary clearly doesn't have a lot of information to provide, which has even been mentioned by the leaders asking her questions. But I'm sure Bill Clinton will have more to say, and I'm not quite there yet. Hillary Clinton's video is about 4.5 hours long, and I got to make it through that first. But we're chipping away at it, and I will update you if I hear anything massive from it. I'm taking my notes as I do. So we'll see what I come out with at the end. Anyways, moving on into our other news segment with our final two topics here for tonight. The U.S. Postal Service can now refuse to deliver your mail. The Supreme Court has ruled that the U.S. Postal Service cannot be sued by Americans if they refuse to deliver mail. In a 5-4 vote, justices ruled against Libani Cohen, who alleges her mail was intentionally held for 2 years, claiming racial prejudice played a role in this. This comes as many Americans are worried that this ruling will impact their ability to vote, as the Trump administration could use this to their advantage when it comes to preventing things like mail-in ballots being sent out. Rightfully so, people are worried about this. I am too, as they should be when midterms are on the way and a lot of people do vote by mail-in ballots. Trump is continuing to threaten a lot of ways to vote in this country. I myself am going to need a mail-in ballot when it comes to midterms this summer. I'm a California resident. I'm living in Colorado to go to college. I can't just go to the California polls to go and vote, right? But I do worry, with the threats on mail-in ballots, if I'll be able to vote at all. This is technically my first opportunity to vote in elections. I'm especially excited for the California governor race, with Gavin Newsom not playing a role in that. There's a few people I like. Ramsey Robinson is one of those. He is a socialist candidate. For those of you who don't know about that, you should look into him if you're from California. He has a lot of good policies. I'm quite a fan of him. I'm not going to make an official endorsement. Maybe I will closer to this summer. I mean, there's not much like an endorsement from me provides, right? But I am a California resident. I'm very proud of being from California. I was born and raised there, right? It's something I'm very proud of, and I really do want California to have a governor who has the best interests of the state in mind. And I think Ramsey Robinson is definitely a great choice for that. Anyways, moving on into our final topic for tonight, gas prices. Expect them to explode. With the war in Iran underway, you can expect gas prices to rise once again in cost. Before the conflict started, Trump's oil prices were nearly up 17% already this year, as U.S. barrel prices are pushing to nearly $5 a barrel. Gas Buddy analysis Patrick DeHaan said, I fully expect that by Monday night you could credibly say that gas prices are being impacted by the oil prices having gone up. Iran has also announced that it is closing the Strait of Hormuz, of course, which is an essential spot for oil trade. This is not a good thing at all. As we all know, oil makes the world go round, and most of Americans need it for everything, to power their cars, to power towns, to power literally everything. They're drilling the hell out of a majority of our oil resources right now, and it's not helping gas prices really at all, from what I find. It's going to take a toll on our environment continuously, and our resource supply as well. And in all honesty, since they've started drilling more, it still feels like prices are around the same. I mean, like nothing really changes, right? And it's going to get worse from here. With that being said, though, thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, that is for sure. If you're new here, though, please consider subscribing. All the support would be greatly appreciated, as we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by this summer. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing as well. It's $8 a month, and all funds go to me. Helps me pay for the things that I need to pay for in my life, like my groceries, clothing, food, and all of that. This is a viewer-supported channel, so all the support is greatly, truly appreciated. Outside of that, though, thank you all so much for watching. I truly do appreciate all the support on this content, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode.